Hey there, happy Wednesday. It's dry January, week 2, and most of us are looking to reevaluate the role of alcohol in our lives, to go on non drinking breaks, to live alcohol free, to live happily. And what ends up happening is that we are stuck in usually habits when it comes to drinking. And a habit is formed with three different things it's formed with a cue, an activity, and a reward. So the cue is oftentimes these times when we're prompted or triggered to drink. It could be coming home from work, it could be being stressed out, it could be, it being Friday. The activity itself is what you're doing in that moment, so it's drinking, right? And the reward is that sense of relaxation that you associate with the drink, or that, relief from your thoughts. And so the key thing in changing a habit loop is you can't just get a cue and then sit there and feel deprived. It doesn't work that way. Scientists have shown that the best way to change our habits is to take the habit loop and replace the activity with a different activity. So you feel your cue, your trigger, right? Like you're feeling a craving for alcohol, and you got to do something in that moment. You have to do something else. You can't just sit there and you can't just wait for it to pass, right? You have to do another activity. And this other activity also has to bring you a reward. So there's some great ideas, and students in Become Euphoric have all these new ideas for rituals, whether it's maybe going on a run or a walk or all this other stuff. But one of the easiest things you could literally do is pour a drink. What do I mean by that? Pour a drink that just doesn't have any ethanol in it. You already have this habit loop that tells you that you want to drink maybe to feel pampered or special or treated or just to unwind. And so if you change the drink in that moment, like you can, in a sense, don't have to change the entire habit loop, which is really hard. It's really ingrained in your brain. You can just change the drink and then not suffer any of the consequences. I mean, think about it. There's nothing wrong with decompressing over a drink or feeling treated from a drink or feeling special from a drink. We eat different foods and beverages in order to feel special. Like just drinking tap water all the time isn't going to cut it, right? I mean, I always say I love water, but I love to think of this one analogy. Imagine if I was in this fancy cocktail party and they were passing out these really fancy canapes, and they were like chef little bites. They're just gorgeous canapes. And everyone got one, right? But by the time the waiter got to me, they were out. I would feel deprived. Now, does that mean that I'm addicted to canapes? Does that mean that I have a problem with canapes? Absolutely not, right? But everyone else is getting this special treat and they ran out for me. So then I end up feeling deprived and like I'm missing out. So it's a normal, natural feeling when other people are drinking special beverages around you, or drinks that in your mind associate with some kind of specialness, for you to have a special drink. And what you discover when you try alcohol-free drinks, and alcohol-free drinks, I mean a whole gamut of drinks. These are soft drinks, these are non-alcoholic drinks, and they're all these kind of alternative drinks. They're just any drink that doesn't have ethanol in it, right? The whole spectrum is super, super broad and wide. It literally could be juice with sparkling water. It doesn't have to be something that tastes like alcohol. But an alcohol-free drink makes you feel like the same sense of you're being treated, you're feeling pampered, you're feeling special in that moment. You can unwind with something that's like a treat, like a nice hot cup of tea might be able to do it for you too. And the thing is, once you start replacing that habit with this new activity, you start to learn that wow, I can have it all and eat my cake too. Because you feel the same feelings of being relaxed and treated, but then you're not suffering any of the negative side effects. You're not suffering any of the negative consequences, right? So let me share with you this. The thing is, alcohol is not actually relaxing you. Alcohol releases stress hormones into your body. It releases cortisol, adrenaline, dynorphin, which is like the opposite of endorphins. It just makes you feel anxious and low. And the thing is, we associate relief with alcohol because it slows down our prefrontal cortex. So we literally can't sense the world anymore. It slows our brains down. They've done a study once where they took drinkers, I guess, to a restaurant, and everyone sat down and they had little brain nodes on their brains to capture their brain waves, and everyone sat down and they're tracking their brain waves, and then they ordered a drink, and they found that their brains relaxed after everyone ordered a drink but before they actually drank it. So what that's telling me is that we have neuroassociations that alcohol is going to relax us that have nothing to do with alcohol itself. We've built up this story, this belief that alcohol relaxes us. And that's why it's oftentimes hard to change that belief. But when you do, when you actually get really, really experimental with it, when you drink and you feel the stress hormones, when you feel crappy, when you feel more frustrated, when you feel more just off, you start to learn that. And so a non-alcoholic drink, an alcohol-free drink, literally gives you that same sense of anticipation that you're hoping to get, like, relaxed and unwind without any of the negative after effects, right? So I think alcohol-free drinks are a godsend. And the thing is, you need to find a drink that you love. So for some people, non-alcoholic beer and wine might hit a little too close to home. They might taste too similar and they're just not interested in revisiting those things. And that's totally cool. Like, that's fine, right? For some people, it's going to be the very thing that they need. For some people, it's going to be the very thing that, like, changes the habit and makes you feel like you're partaking in all of the same kind of rituals as anyone else around you, but without any of the negative side effects. But I do say, whichever camp you fall into, you need to find a drink you love. You have to find a drink you love. You know, maybe it's literally just sparkling water with a little bit of grapefruit juice. Maybe that's like Spindrift. I love Spindrift. Spindrift is a can. It's not just sparkling water. It has a little bit of fruit puree in it and then sparkling water. So it's like this very lightly sweetened drink that has like a little bit of a punch. It's just a soft drink. You can get it like Target, right? I love Spindrift. You have to find a drink you love. Maybe it's like La Croix. Maybe it's some kind of juice with sparkling water. Maybe it's like one of these fancy adult new alcohol-free beverages that are out there. Maybe it's non-alcoholic wine or beer. You have to find something you love so that you continue to treat yourself and not feel deprived. Because I have worked with women for over 2.5 years in this trying to attain alcohol-free lifestyles. And the one thing that I've noticed is that when you feel deprived, that's when it's not sustainable. When you feel like you're missing out and everyone else has something special and you don't, that's when you feel like you're missing out and deprived. And that's what eventually causes the romanticism to come churning up for alcohol and reaching back out for it. So don't let yourself feel deprived. Don't let yourself feel like you're missing out by making sure you have something to drink that you love, right? And it's fun to explore. It's super, super, super fun to explore this world because I've actually studied it. The non-alcoholic drink category is going to rise by like 30% in the next 5 years. There's so many alcohol companies now that are actually investing in alcohol-free drinks because they know that that's where the trend's going. There's so many like really household name companies that are actually investing in these non-alcoholic drinks. And even just this year, Samuel Adams just came out with a non-alcoholic beer. Like Heineken has one. Budweiser, like all of them are really formulating this. And in Europe, every beer company in Europe actually has a non-alcoholic version of their beer. Every single one. Okay, so to my question though, there's so much to explore here. And I'm going to share a link below if you're in the United States for a shop that has like just a huge array of options. And then I'll also see if I can find a link for the UK and Australia. Because of laws, they're totally different. And shipping's just hard between continents. Each shop is pertinent to the continent you live on. What non-alcoholic wines are actually good and enjoyable? So as this industry has been growing, I've found that the non-alcoholic wine trend really did start in Europe. So if you live in Europe or UK, there's so many options. But thankfully, the US is catching up. And so I'll share 3 of my favorites that you can find here. And I'll also share a link to a shop that has just like dozens and dozens more options that I haven't even tried yet, honestly. One of my favorites is called Ariel. Ariel is a non-alcoholic wine, and the way that you make non-alcoholic wine is like you take regular, someone might literally make fun of you and be like, isn't that just grape juice? No, it's not. They take literally normal wine and then they de-alcoholize it through a process. So it still has the same level of tannins. It still has that like adult complex taste. It just doesn't have any alcohol in it. And so Ariel is actually made by the company J-Lore. If you've ever heard of J-Lore, that wine company, they're in Paso Robles. So they're a legit like serious wine company that's making this non-alcoholic version under a new label called Ariel. Ariel is sold online on Amazon. It's sold in like Whole Foods. It's sold in Bevmo if you live by a Bevmo. It's definitely available anywhere you go, and they have a Cabernet Sauvignon. They have all the kind of different blends, and that one's a great one. I think it's a great starter one. There's another one that's a little cheaper and it's a little less higher quality, but you'll also find it everywhere. It's called Frey. Frey has like champagne, it has non-alcoholic Chardonnay, it has non-alcoholic reds. That one I can find in like my Vaughn's, my Ralph's. And the thing is I've learned that, oftentimes, sparkling water can be just fine, but maybe I'm going to a dinner party where everyone else is drinking wine, or I'm going to my parents' house and there's going to be wine. it's sometimes nice to bring like that kind of bottle, and it gives an option to other people. When I bring a non-alcoholic wine to my parents' house, for example, my sister will have some, my mom will have some. Like, it can be part of a hostess gift as well, right? So that you have an option, and maybe other people don't want to drink either, right? Like, always consider that. So that's Ariel, that's Spray. And then a new one I just found that I actually really like was called Chateau Diana. It's also a company or a winery in the California area that makes a really good one. It had a lot of like high tannins in it, definitely tasted very similar, but again, no alcohol in it, so you don't feel the eventual slump. You don't feel the eventual tiredness, right? It's just the taste. Chateau Diana was very interesting because they actually put very light carbonation in it, and it's not carbonation like sparkling water. It's kind of like carbonation like champagne, like teeny tiny bubbles. So if you're interested in that kind of fizz, Chateau Diana is a good one. I'm going to share, again, I said a link below to some other options. There's a lot I haven't tried yet that I probably should. It should be my homework. But another great one is called Groovy. Groovy has a Prosecco. And what they do is that they're not actually making de-alcoholized wine. They're technically making like a juice. So it's like a juice blend of different flavors that has never been fermented. And so their Groovy Prosecco is like very light in that sense. To me, it almost tastes like melon. It has it's not sweet. It has very light, like a palate, but it has a very like rich aroma. It's really yummy. Another option that's really cool isn't technically a wine or anything like that. What it is this company from Israel called Ovine. What they do is they take the grape skins from like a wine making process, and they actually make wine essence water out of that. So what you're getting is wine essence water. It's 0 calories. It has no like extra sugars in it. Smells exactly like it, but tastes a little lighter. So it tastes much lighter. It's kind of like a flavored water. You can find Ovine on Amazon. You can find it in health food stores. It's actually a really cool concept, right? Because it's like, let's have the adult beverage, but not even minus the negative consequences, minus even like the sugar and all of that stuff, right? So it's really light. And if you pair like the white version or the red version with like a lunch or like a picnic, like it's just the perfect experience, right? So there's so many different options. I'll include a link for that one below, Ovine. It's called Ovine Natural Wine Essence Water or something. And it's really fun. And you see like the non-alcoholic wine trend or beer trend like doesn't have to be for you, but it isn't amazing that we now have all these options? Isn't it incredible that we have options that are catering to adult taste buds that aren't just apple juice? Like, you know, like a Martinelli's apple juice cider, like they're so sweet, they're so like overly processed. It's like really hard to find that refinement in there. They're making all of these options now for non-drinkers, and hallelujah, because like the more options we have in the society, the safer it's going to be, the more like easier it's going to be to not drink alcohol, the easier it's going to be for younger generations too to not get swept into this like everybody has to drink craze. When it comes to non-alcoholic craft beer, that's exploding in this country. We have really cool non-alcoholic breweries like Athletic, Surreal, Wellbeing, Bravis, and many more. That's like, there's actually 2 tasting rooms here in San Diego that are dedicated only to non-alcoholic beer. I mean, you don't know how many times I've been with my friends out at a brewery that was like something to do on a Saturday. And to think that I actually have the option now to go to a non-alcoholic craft beer tasting room in my city just blows my mind. In fact, it was in the summer. I was walking by this beach town that I used to live in, and this beach town is super party heavy, like just super party heavy. And I was walking by this gastropub, and all of the umbrellas outside of the gastropub were sponsored by Athletic Brewery, which is only making non-alcoholic beer. So do you see like how this trend can actually shape culture and change culture? Here in the party central town where kids are just drinking all the time, 21 and up, they're actually making a stake of non-alcoholic beer, craft beer. And imagine if that was like a more acceptable alternative for anyone and everyone, especially from that age group. You know, like culture would change, everything would change. So like this trend, whether you're into it or not, I just fully support, because these companies are really changing culture. The third group of beverages, other than non-alcoholic wine or beer or just like general soft drinks that are like, there's so many, right? There's kombuchas, there's like all these natural health drinks, there's vinegars, there's just so much in that group. But there's also these adult blend kind of drinks. So for example, Kin Euphorics makes these adult blended, I guess you'd call them soft cocktails. And one of them is like they're all made with nootropics and adaptogens, which means kind of like the greatest things from nature, superfoods, things like that, like mushrooms that enhance your memory and your creativity, different like herbs that enhance your immunity and stuff like that. So they're really like health drinks, but they're meant to replace nightlife drinks. So there's one that's actually made to be kind of like an upper. It has natural energy stimulants in it, and it like wakes you up and just makes you feel high energy. And then they have another one that's supposed to be like a nightcap, and it actually has like melatonin in it, and it puts you to sleep. So it's like this nice little like herbal nightcap. Both of them, though, aren't just marketing as these health drinks. They're actually marketing as drinks to replace your nightlife drinks. So they're changing culture as well. Another great one's Curious Elixirs. They make soft cocktails. They have 4 blends, I think, now, and they're all very like herbaceous and bitter, and just like they're adult beverages that you can't just like drink in one swig, like, right? They're very strong and they're very palatable, right? So it's like a fun, sophisticated beverage with all these different complex flavors. This trend is really, really growing too. So there's restaurants, like the high dining restaurants, the most creative chefs out there are starting to do non-alcoholic pairings. Thomas Keller is doing non-alcoholic pairings. What is it called? The Laundry? Yeah, he has the Laundry. In Berkeley, what is it called? Chez Panisse is doing non-alcoholic pairings. They're doing this because it's really is starting to be like what customers are asking for. Not everyone wants wine. And the thing is that when you start looking into what you can pair from the non-alcoholic world, the alcohol-free world, you can get so much more creative. So some of these blends they're pairing are made with teas that have like tannins in them, and they're mixing them with like different vinegars, and it's just really fun because there's so much to experiment with. That's also my last tip. If you love to make drinks at home, I love making mocktails out of tea. So you literally can take any cocktail in the world almost and replace the portion that you would have normally poured the alcohol in with a tea. So for example, you can use like a spiced tea like chai for any drink that would have called for rum, especially tiki drinks. It works so well. You can use like a green tea to replace like a vodka drink, and then you'll have like this really nice, maybe you have jasmine green tea, like with the floral essence of jasmine. Like, you can get really, really creative. So I'll also link to all of my mocktails that I've just put recipes up for on my blog on this page. So you have so many options. That's the thing, whether you're doing this for dry January, whether you're going alcohol free, whether you're really just embarking on the best version of yourself that feels healthy and like active and energetic every single morning, you don't have to deprive yourself. You don't have to miss out. You don't have to live a life of deprivation. You really have more options because you get to try like hundreds and hundreds and hundreds of these different drinks and wake up feeling great the next day, and feeling your integrity and pride the next day, and feeling like confident the next day, and having something in your hand that's actually interesting to talk about. You know, when I bring one of my drinks to like a party, I get asked questions, and I love talking about it. I love sharing it. I love changing people's minds to see that, oh, there actually is non-alcoholic stout I could drink, or oh, there's this like crazy adaptogen beverage I could have. Like, it's really fun to be able to shift culture like that and just really start showing that you don't have to drink to be quote unquote normal. There are so many options, and being a rebel about it, like really finding rebelliousness within yourself to stand up to this idea that you have to drink alcohol to be normal, it just puts like a fire under you. It puts a fire of activism under you, and it really, really keeps you going. So Ned said his friends love GHIA. I don't know how to pronounce that. I want to try it. I'll have to look that up. Thank you for that idea. I'll share all the links below for everything I talked about, from the different shops that you can shop on in the different continents, some of my favorite mocktail recipes. And if you have any other non-alcoholic wines or just other drinks that you're experimenting with and trying and you're really liking, feel free to share on this page. We definitely celebrate the diversity of having drinks we love here. So go ahead and share. I hope you have an incredible day today, and until next time.